You're insignificant. Yes. As you can see from the title of this video, I will be talking about human insignificance, male human insignificance to be more specific. So we often see in these content creation spheres, right? We hear about the wall, right? What is the wall? This mythical wall that everybody talks about. The wall is essentially when a woman reaches the end of her reproductive cycle, when she is no longer reproductively viable, or when she gets too old to the point where males are no longer paying attention to her, right? This is colloquially what's referred to as the wall. This is what we hear. Now, I don't want to talk about that today. No, that's kind of boring. Honestly, it's a little low resolution. There's a lot of nuance to that I don't think a lot of people discuss. So I want to talk about something a little more interesting, something that we don't talk about enough, and that is the male wall. Yes, we are going to be talking about this mythical creature that can never be touched, this thing that seemingly doesn't exist. But as we all well know, it certainly does. And that's what I plan to talk about today. So, what is the male wall? I'm glad you asked. Even though you didn't ask, I'm going to make a video anyway because this is my microphone, this is my camera, I have a channel, I have an opinion, and I want to express it and portray it to the rest of the world. So that's what we're going to do. Now, this is actually a very serious topic because this is something that I believe is not often really spoken about. And I believe that males hit their own version of the wall. It doesn't have to do with being reproductively viable because men could primarily have kids whenever the hell they want. You know, even into old age they can. So I don't think it has to do with that. I think, or I believe, I know it has to do more with insignificance, not mattering, being invisible. And yes, that is a very real thing that I don't think a lot of you really pay too much attention to. No. And why is that? The reason is because we know it already. Deep down inside, there is this existential dread that hits us, right? And we start to realize it as time progresses and as time goes on, as we get older. Attrition hits us. We start feeling weaker. We are no longer spry. We are no longer spring chickens. We primarily become fall turkeys. Our bones get weaker, our testosterone lowers, and we are no longer viable on different levels, right? Now, picture yourself for a moment, a 60 or 70-year-old man in a dive bar in the middle of the night, or actually, let's say the middle of the day. You're by yourself, you have your head down, looking at a whiskey glass, you're probably twirling it, and you're just looking around, right? Now, you are that guy that's ignored. You are hitting your own form of the wall. You just don't realize it yet. Now, why is that? Because us as men, one of the things that I think is most important to us is our importance to others around us, our ability to provide, to be protectors. And once you can no longer protect, once you can no longer provide, you sort of become insignificant. You kind of become invisible. And that's something that I think is a very real thing that a lot of people don't often discuss. Now, why is that? Well, it's time. All men and all women fall. It is merely a matter of time and method. It will happen. It is inevitable. You see, in the grand scheme of things, we are but mere microscopic dust particles in the fabric of society. You know, we don't exist or amount to much outside of our circles. Now, even if you're a famous content creator, even if you are an influencer that has a billion people that would say otherwise and that would say you're not insignificant, you're still going to go. At the end of the day, when the dust settles and you settle and you are 6 feet under without any of your money, without any of your clout, you go alone. You come into this world alone and you will go alone. It is inevitable. It will happen. Now, our insignificance is something that we've wrestled with for a very long time. There is, again, once more, this existential dread that does begin to hit us after a while. Once our mortality gets tested, right? Now, when you are a young 20-year-old man, for example, and you're really strong, you're full of life, you can conquer the world, nothing can stop you. I would even dare say you're invincible. Yes, you are. There comes a point in your life that you start to hit where you realize that you are running at full steam and nothing can stop you because you're laser focused. But then what ends up happening? Attrition, age. Yes, it gets to you. It will. Once you hit your 30s, suddenly your knees start to get a little weak. You know what I mean? You get up the stairs and you have labored breath, right? Now, even though you take care of yourself, even though you go to the gym, you're still going to dwindle away, right? Because we are like plants. I always say this all the time. We need the sun to rise and we need water so that we don't wither away into oblivion. But there's only so much our bodies can take. There are only so many medicines, supplements, vitamins that we can take to prolong the inevitable. It will happen. And this isn't meant to be a negative message. No, because here on Big Brother Neo's podcast, I like to offer, I wouldn't necessarily say practical solutions in this case, but I want you to understand this perspective, okay? Because it happens to all of us. When you are turned down at a promotion because they don't think that you'll be able to keep up with the younger crowd, or when you are no longer able to score that hottie that you would have been able to score 10 years ago, kind of starts to take a hit on your ego, right? What is an ego? We all have one. We understand what it is. It is a measure of our self-worth. It is the ability for us to be able to measure where we stand versus other individuals in this plane of reality. Now, it's really difficult to give you practical advice or even to tell you, hey, this is a prescription, because we all live lives in different barometers. We are not the same person. The person that you are today will not be the person you are tomorrow. So I would simply suggest, if you want to have a semblance of a normal existence, and if you don't want to become irrelevant too quickly, you have to take actionable steps. We are the main character in our own story at the end of the day. So we have to have an active role in the outcome of the book that we are writing, which is called Our Life, right? If you want to rise from the heavens like a phoenix, right? You want to reach the heights of your dreams, or at the very least, you don't want to live a miserable existence. You are very much capable of doing so. Now, I know what you're all thinking, or at least what some of you are thinking. This is cope. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what? You're right. This is cope. Everything is cope. No matter what you do, it is copium 10.0. When you are sick and you buy a ham and cheese sandwich with a freshly squeezed orange juice, you know that it's no magic cure, but it's comfort food. And it makes you feel better to have that comfort food at the moment, because you are being affected in a way that is preventing you from living your life. Your mortality starts to dwindle, right? And even though this ham and cheese sandwich with this freshly squeezed orange juice isn't the solution, it makes you feel better. It is cope. You are coping. No matter what you do, when you get on the internet and you listen to content, whether you are listening to my video or another content creator, it is all cope. So let's just all forget about the fact that it's cope. Let's acknowledge that it's cope, and let's move on with the rest of our lives, right? Now, why do people always tell you to go to the gym? I advocate it all the time. I'm a big proponent of going to the gym. I think it's great. But one of the reasons that I think this piece of advice is given, it's because it's an actionable step that you can take where you can physically see tangible results on your body. If you diet well, if you exercise well, you can start to see a literal metamorphosis take place within your body. But it is not just your body, it is also your mind, it is your soul. It encompasses all parts of your humanity into this one sphere of life. And some of the importance of working out is also to establish a routine. It is to establish consistency, because us as human beings are creatures of habit. You might not want to admit it. You might think you're this unique creature that thinks and feels differently from everybody else, but you don't. That's just the reality of this world. You are just like everyone else in your own way, but you're still just like everyone else. So having something as simple as a routine, whether you go out for a morning 20-minute walk or you go out to sling some steel, you're still doing something that is giving you some noticeable results, or at least hopefully it does, right? Now, if you really want to have a good life, I'm going to tell you the secret. And this isn't really a secret, and you might click off of this video thinking that I had nothing useful to tell you. And if you do, that's okay. If you do, that is okay. Take better care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care of your friends, family, the people that you love and care about. Work hard, because we don't have this body forever. You know, one thing that I believe is going to become a real challenge, and I don't think you guys talk about this often enough, is how are you going to pleasure yourself when you are 45 and up? It becomes a real question. Because let's say up until this moment, you've lived the bachelor life, or you have had the misfortune of having immutable characteristics that prevent others from loving you or caring about you or even giving you a second glance, right? This becomes a real problem. These are real issues, right? And a lot of you might think that it doesn't really pertain to you, but you know what? It's still your life. You are the main character, as I said earlier. You're the main character of your own story. So these are real life issues. These are things that can bother you and weigh heavy on your soul as you get older. So we have to make actionable steps. We have to have an outcome in our destinies. We can't just simply wait and rely on somebody to do it for us, because no one will. I'm going to tell you all something that you might not want to hear, but this is the truth. And some of you on a subconscious level kind of already know this, but nobody cares about you. Nobody. The world doesn't care about you. Your state, your city, your nation, nothing cares about you. Okay? Do you know who cares? Your friends, your family, your significant other, right? And even to an extent, because that eventually dwindles away over time if you aren't having an active outcome in your life, if you aren't trying, if you aren't making an attempt to progress with the rest of your life. Some of us are very unfortunate. Some of us are born not having much. If you are coming from a third world war-ridden country, I apologize. It really sucks, man. It really does. Heck, you probably can't see this. If you think about how fortunate we are in the grand scheme of things, you would start to realize that even though we are insignificant, we have some significance to those around us. I always say that. Just make better efforts to take care of the people that you care about the most. You want to know what matters more than anything? It's not your money. It's not your clout. It's other people. It's the experiences that you've cultivated up until this point. Because once you have left this earth, once you have released your existence from this earthly tether, the only thing you have are your experiences. The way you remember the world before you were born, which is something you don't remember, will be exactly how it is once you're gone. It will be darkness. It will be the void, right? So make better efforts if you want to have a semblance of a good life. If you don't want to hit the wall at full speed ahead, make actionable changes. Try. You never know. You might be satisfied with what you get. I hope so. You know what? Realistically, I don't have a script. I'm just talking. I was at the gym earlier and I had this thought in my head where I was like, hey, I want to talk about insignificance. I want to talk about the male wall, right? But this advice could be for men and women alike, right? This isn't something that's just wall related. I just thought it'd be a cool way to sort of tie things in. I'm still learning myself. I make mistakes on a day-to-day basis, and I'm becoming very aware of my mortality and that I am no longer a very young man, towards the point where things are as easy for me as they used to be. Things are more difficult. Me learning is more difficult. Me maintaining a strong body is more difficult. It is not impossible, and it is something I will keep fighting towards until my dying breath, because I will not go into that good night without raging against the light. I will keep going. I will push forward. I will progress. Okay? And somebody might need to hear this. And if you think I'm full of crap, that's okay. You don't have to like my content. Heck, you can give it a downvote if you want. It's still an engagement. If you want to say something negative, feel free to do so. Give it to the algorithm. Help push me up. Listen, man. You might think this is cope. You might think that this doesn't matter. But you know what? It does matter. It is cope. And I'm okay with that because, well, it makes me feel better.